Welcome to United Network News, the official news channel for CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth. I'm Sunny Galt. At UNN, you get the real news. Through our field messengers, we show you the truth about what's really taking place in our communities. We also bring you stories to help you remember who you are and why you're here, as well as regional stories that impact the people. And our World Situation Report reveals what's happening throughout the multiverse. We are here to restore Earth. In the U.S., it is Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. If walls could talk, this Romanian church would have quite the story to tell. Learn more about the history of this unique underground cathedral. Then we turn to the skies in the Canary Islands of Spain. This international kite festival connects flyers from all over the world for some high-flying fun. In the New Earth, we're exploring some of the top tech solutions that use frequency to help you improve your overall well-being. And this sanctuary in Buenos Aires offers a lifeline to abused and abandoned horses.
This is Calen Giff, messenger for United Network News. Here's a look at today's field messenger reports from all around the world. Today we visit a one-of-a-kind church in Romania, renowned for its architectural style and construction techniques. UNN field messenger Monica shows us this unique underground cathedral.
Hello, this is Monica from Romania, field messenger for United Network News. This church has a unique and special architecture and a history of more than 150 years. Although very modest, with no paintings on the walls, the church in the town of Istria, near Constanța and the Istria fortress, is of great historical significance and is included in the list of architectural monuments of great importance. They dreamed that the church would be tall and beautifully decorated, but the Sultan's orders were strict. No church could be taller than the local mosque and no higher than the houses in the village. It could not have spires, bells and belfries, and its external shape could not indicate that it was a Christian church. So the people got together and all agreed that their church would still be the tallest in the area, that it would be buried to make it look smaller, plus that would create more space inside, and secondly, the Muslims would no longer be able to ride into the church on horseback, knowing that the Turks used to ride in horseback during services and defile the churches. In addition, they engineered a spectacular acoustic effect with sounds that propagate as well as in a cathedral, due to 52 Greek amphorae embedded in the walls. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Kite festivals are a colorful blend of creativity where the sky resembles a giant coloring book. UNN field messenger Emma takes us on a journey to the International Kite Festival in Spain.
Hi, this is Emma, reporting from Fuerteventura for the Kite Festival, International Kite Festival here in Coralejo. It's going to be a ride. There are so many activities going on here, and I'll show you all the nice kites. Thank you. I'm reporting from the 36th Coralejo International Kite Festival. We are driving through one of the few living sand dunes in the Canary Islands, and we can see the kites in the sky far away. In 1987, several kite flying enthusiasts from Europe started what has become the 36th International Kite Festival in Coralejo. One of the oldest participants in this festival was an older couple from Wiltshire in England. They have come to the festival for 14 years, and this year they brought 3 little pigs, which had been their winter project. And most participants spent months creating these very creative handmade kites. There's also pictures from the German section of the kite flyers, the more dark section. Hope you enjoy that. In some of the pictures you can see characters from cartoons. During the different kites you can see pigs, you can see Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. You can see blackfish, like octopussy. Yeah, all kinds. There's so many. So that's it for the Kite Festival. Enjoy all the nice pictures. Thank you for watching. Bye.
We want you to become a UNN field messenger. These are everyday people just like you who want to make a difference in their community. You don't need any special training or equipment. Just use a camera on your mobile phone and show us what's happening in your area. You send us your videos and our production team will create the report for you. For ideas and inspiration, we encourage you to join our new Field Messenger group on Telegram. Till our website is up and running, you can upload them to our new email address, fieldmessenger@unitednetwork.earth.
Hello, I'm Susan from Sweden.
Mwanda Michael from Eastern Uganda, Africa.
Hi, I'm Tim from Vancouver, Canada.
I'm Titeshwar Tongao from Manipur State, India. I'm Gumba Obasi from Southeast Nigeria.
Arnaito Chakrini from Western Uganda, Mbarara.
At United Network News, you are the news.
My name's Christina, Field Messenger, report first one in the hurricane down here in Southern California from Mexico.
Real people reporting real stories from all around the world. At UNN, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Jason from United Network News. We're going to be doing some aircrete building with new technologies that allow us to live in comfort and also off the grid.
Take the next step in changing the way the world gets the news. Become a UNN field messenger today.
I am Michelle from South Africa, and we are the United Network News.
I am United Network News.
I'm United Network News.
If it is going to be, then it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
Si va a ser así, depende de mí. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN.
We know that frequency is everywhere and everything has a frequency. Knowing what that frequency is and being able to match it can have a profound impact on your health. And this can be done through technology. Jai Hain is a quantum osteopath and frequency specialist based in the Netherlands. He also runs the School of Frequency and works within the quantum field to help humanity restore balance and well-being. So Jai, we have talked before about the importance of frequency and how the technology behind this has been hidden from us, and our understanding of frequency has been hidden from us. But there have been some technological devices that have made it out there. Some are even still out there in circulation. I want to talk a little bit more about those because there are people that are watching this now going, oh, I'd really like to play around with this more and learn more. And you might need a device, or you could use a device. We've talked about how to do that in nature too, but you could use their device to be able to access this. So can we talk a little bit more about the tech available?
Yeah, what if we could make a good investment with frequency working for our health and well-being? There's a small device out there that is called Healy. You can Google it. It is sold through word through mouth.
Okay.
And this goes back to the technology that Nikola Tesla first invented. It's just now the size of the palm of your hand because, you know, we are much more advanced now. But another great thing, because I like to stick with the things that will have a long-lasting effect, we go back to the nervous system. And if you've heard of the polyvagal theory, it's invented by a doctor called Stephen Porges, and he made the Safe and Sound protocol, which is a protocol that you can listen. It's a listening protocol that works with music, and it's programmed with specific frequencies that then trains your nervous system to go out of fight, flight, or freeze and go back into safe, sound, and calm. And this is a really profound technology, and I really want to stimulate people to do this, because if you're, first you need your nervous system working for you. Otherwise, not much else works. But if it is working for you, then you go to number 2. Just invest in good water. And so feel free to reach out to us, right? We have amazing water technology upcoming that you could order. It's a bottle, and with one press on the button, you have the most hydrogenated, enriched water, which is literally like standing next to a spring and freshly tapping it from the source, where you can then see all those small little bubbles. That's called molecular hydrogen. It's the best antioxidant in the world. So bye-bye inflammations and, whatever troubles you. And so really good water really makes a difference, because we are at least 80% water.
Well, that sounds much better than the distilled water that I've been drinking, because I've been trying to balance all the, stuff going on in my body, and having that negative charge, I'm told helps. But what you're talking about sounds a lot better.
Well, you got very clean water. So get that clean water, put it in this bottle, press the button, and then you're done. But get it at least clean, and then activate it, so to say. But focus on good water.
Okay.
Third thing is, and this is where Nikola Tesla, he made this invention, and it was sad that he didn't develop it further, but these were plasma lights. So he had a set of plasma lights, which means noble gases in light, and he had them on for like nights on in a row, and he noticed with them on, he required less sleep, he had much more productivity and creativity, he required less food, he could skip so many things. And this explains why this guy was so brilliant and always full of energy, because he had his plasma lights on. So this is what I just want to say. The future is going to give us sunbeds for our cells and not for our tan. So we're gonna see technologies on the corners of our streets where you can just lay in and you're charging your cells, right?
Yeah. Okay, so those light bulbs, so to speak, I'm just going to call them light bulbs, plasma light bulbs, those don't exist now? Or are you aware of anyone selling those? Or I don't even know how you would turn something like that on. I don't know how that would work. Is there anything like that now? Or are we talking more future?
Well, we're talking future that is going to be mainstream. Now I do work with it. Some therapists work with this. There are some centers around the world that do plasma rejuvenation technology. So if you have one in your vicinity, close to you, just Google it. It is theraphi.net, which is like therapy, but P-H-I at the end, Theraphi. They have installed in them the technology of Nikola Tesla with the lights, but also so much more, right? And it's this phenomena that is basically just sunlight in light bulbs, right? And we talked about that, so yeah.
From preserving our bodies to preserving our planet, a major effective effort, I should say, is underway to conserve the Amazon rainforest, which is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. So far this year, the destruction of this vital ecosystem has slowed dramatically, with a reduction of more than 55% from the previous. From preserving our bodies to preserving our planet, a major effort is underway to conserve the Amazon rainforest, which is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. So far this year, the destruction of this vital ecosystem has slowed dramatically, with a reduction of more than 55% from the previous year. This is very good news to the 30 million people and 350 different ethnic groups that call it home. More than 3 million species live in the rainforest, including 1/3 of all tropical trees that exist on Earth. The diversity of plant and animal life is also unparalleled. This notable reduction is a result of environmental policies and law enforcement in Brazil, which houses most of the Amazon. A decline in deforestation was also observed in Colombia and Peru, while Bolivia saw a significant drop in forest loss despite experiencing extensive wildfires. This downward trend provides hope and sets a positive precedent for achieving global deforestation reduction. The need is urgent for continued efforts to conserve this crucial ecological area. The Amazon rainforest has a critical role in the health of the planet. Protecting this region's rich biodiversity will be a win for us all. In a significant move towards environmental conservation, indigenous communities across Ecuador and Colombia have assembled to form dedicated land guards. These guards battle against significant threats, including oil companies and drug-related deforestation, especially in regions near the Ecuador-Colombia border. They are committed to protecting millions of acres of the world's most biodiverse rainforest, a task they undertake by pairing advanced technology with ancestral wisdom. These protectors, who come from various regions of the Amazon, Andes, and the coast, have been successful in their mission by using techniques from their indigenous heritage. They walk extensive distances, prepared to confront illegal activities like poaching, mining, and logging within their territories. The group has been successful in preserving their habitat by driving mining companies away. Besides defending their lands, the guards are also actively involved in mapping their ancestral territories, such as sacred sites, medicinal plants, and animal reproductive zones. This extensive mapping process incorporates technology like drones, GPS, and camera traps, along with traditional knowledge. The use of mobile applications for mapping has greatly enabled and sped up the process. These apps assist in building comprehensive maps of their lands while also enabling them to identify and locate threats like illegal logging, poaching, mining, and fishing. Indigenous leaders shared the dream that young tribe members will continue to defend these territories as a way of life, preserving their legacy for future generations. In Buenos Aires province, an unconventional sanctuary called Let's Dream of Hope is offering a lifeline to abused and abandoned horses. Run by Lorena Melantoni, the refuge is a sanctuary of kindness and care, offering a home for horses cast aside due to age, disabilities, or injuries. Melantoni spends her weekends caring for these horses, many of which have endured unthinkable cruelty. She rescues the horses and helps them live out their remaining years in comfort, away from the mistreatment and neglect they previously endured. Baco, a horse found severely malnourished and injured, is an example of the cruelty these animals have faced. The sanctuary allowed Baco to recover in a caring environment despite the damage he had endured. Melantoni finds personal reward in providing care for these horses, often saying that the joy she receives from hugging, kissing, and simply being around them is enough to make her week. Let's Dream of Hope serves as a shining example of compassion and dedication, providing an essential service benefiting both horses and the wider community. Want to share UNN with your friends and family? Memes are a great way to get the conversation going, and here's today's UNN meme of the day. It says, "Me," when I hear people talk about the restoration plan. Now, there is no doubt we are living in an incredible time for humanity, and we believe if you're watching this right now, then you have an important role in the restoration of our planet. And it's just about time to get that party started. To see more memes just like this one, follow our Meme Team Telegram channel, at UNN Memes. Share them on Telegram and any other social media channels where you still have an account. Welcome to United Network News. I'm Sunny Galt.
Connect with United Network News online. The news portion of our website at unitednetwork.earth recaps the biggest stories impacting our planet. You can also watch inspiring videos from our field messengers and get great tips for creating your own field messenger reports. Easily share all of this content with your friends in just a few clicks, including our social media memes designed to ignite conversation and critical thinking. It's time to restore our home. Let's make history together at unitednetwork.earth.
Now, a look at regional stories around the world. German farmers block roads in protest of their government. Diesel subsidy cuts and other tax changes are threatening their livelihood. Haiti is facing a food shortage, impacting more than 8 million people. Basic goods are available, but few people can afford them. South Korea takes action to protect animal welfare by banning the consumption and sale of dog meat. And in Australia, new legislation has outlawed the Nazi salute and other related hate symbols.
Ireland has announced a plan to address a shortage of skilled workers in the country in key areas such as engineering, information technology, communications, and health and social services. The country introduced the Critical Skills Employment Permit for skilled workers in areas with these qualification shortages. The permit, valid for 2 years, is accessible for those offered a job by an Irish employer matching specific criteria and ensures a minimum annual salary of €32,000 or almost $35,000. Permits must be obtained before arriving in Ireland, and holders are required to register for an Irish residence permit. The permit extends to the workers' family members who can also apply for visas and join them in Ireland. After 2 years, permit holders can apply for the Stamp 4 permission, allowing them to live and work in Ireland without an employment permit. After 5 years of legal residence, they can apply for Irish citizenship. Ukraine is considering imposing banking restrictions on nationals who avoid military service. The proposal under consideration could lower the age of conscription from 27 to 25, remove exemptions for disabilities, and potentially include women in the draft. This move could impact the finances of draft dodgers, with a provision allowing for the seizure of their bank accounts. It could also affect Ukrainians living abroad, denying them consular and banking services. Now, this comes in the wake of a struggle to replenish forces in the conflict with Russia, with the military reportedly asking for up to 500,000 more troops. Barclays Bank has announced the elimination of 5,000 jobs worldwide, with a quarter of these job cuts expected to impact the UK. The decision, part of Barclays' boost or drive to boost profits, has resulted in job losses through redundancies and a hiring freeze. Most of the roles affected are within the bank's support function and operations division. The bank said it is providing support to those affected through training, advice, and outplacement services. However, critics argue the move is grossly unfair to vulnerable customers, small businesses, and those requiring face-to-face advice. The job cuts follow a recent trend of banks reducing physical branches due to a rise in online banking. In Germany, billions of old Deutsche Marks remain unused even 2 decades after being replaced by the euro. According to Germany's central bank, 12.24 billion marks, equivalent to 6.26 billion euros or about $6.84 billion, are still out there, with more than half being coins. Many of these currency remnants are held by nostalgic Germans or tourists, and some are even hidden in forgotten places or lost homes. Despite ceasing to be legal tender in 2002, the mark can still be exchanged for euros at Bundesbank, with more than 90,000 people making use of this service last year. The bank assures that this offer has no expiration date. German farmers are protesting against proposed government austerity measures, which they claim may threaten their livelihood and lead to farm closures. Thousands have gathered in major cities, including Berlin, staging motorway blockages and slow-moving convoys. The demonstrations are an outcry against diesel subsidy cuts and tax changes for agricultural vehicles, measures that farmers contend will cripple the agricultural industry. Although some measures were partially rolled back following initial protests in December, farmers argue the government's concessions are insufficient. The protest action, which started on January 8th, will culminate with a major demonstration in Berlin on January 15th. There are concerns these protests could disrupt transportation nationwide, potentially impacting public safety. Portugal's southernmost region is facing its most severe drought on record, with reservoirs currently at just 25% capacity. The Portuguese Environment Agency is responding with a proposal for new water consumption rules aimed at reducing water usage by 70% in the agricultural sector and 15% for urban users, including the tourism sector. The proposed cuts are seen as a necessary measure to ensure sufficient water supply throughout the year. Without these reductions, the region's water reserves are predicted to last only until the end of August. The Environment Agency is also considering implementing penalties for overuse, including potential increases in water tariffs and fines for excess consumption. The agency's contingency plan, to be presented this month, prioritizes human use over agriculture. BlackRock, the world's biggest asset manager, plans to reduce its workforce by approximately 3%, impacting around 600 jobs. This decision affects a wide range of teams within the company, with no specific group being the primary target of these cuts. Despite these layoffs, BlackRock aims to increase its overall employee numbers by the end of 2024. This move comes at a time when BlackRock is actively scouting for acquisition opportunities to boost growth. The job cuts could potentially affect the firm's clients, who could reconsider their investment strategies amidst market uncertainties. The company, which recently reported a drop in assets under management, is set to announce its fourth quarter results soon. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has granted Florida the authority to import prescription drugs directly from Canada, marking this as a first for any U.S. state. The move aims to reduce medicine costs, which are notably higher in the U.S. than in countries like Canada, where the government negotiates drug prices. Canada has historically opposed such measures, raising concerns about potential threats to its own drug supply and increased costs for its citizens. Experts also question the feasibility of the importation plan, considering the vast size difference between the U.S. and Canadian populations. Despite industry skepticism and potential regulatory challenges, Florida's approval could set a precedent for other states seeking to lower drug costs. However, the state must still provide drug-specific information and demonstrate compliance with FDA standards. Driverless truck companies, including Aurora, Kodiak, and Gatic AI, plan to start autonomous cargo deliveries in 2024. The shift to autonomy could significantly reduce labor costs and increase efficiency, as these trucks can operate beyond the 11-hour limit set for human drivers. However, the transition may also pose safety concerns, as large trucks were involved in numerous fatal crashes in 2021. Autonomous trucks have not been at fault in tests to date, but data suggests they are not immune to accidents. Critics argue that these driverless vehicles must surpass human performance to gain acceptance. For now, operations will launch in southern states due to favorable laws and weather. Haiti faces an alarming food shortage, affecting more than 8.2 million people struggling to get access to basic commodities. In November of 2023, nearly 71% of the population experienced insufficient food consumption, a figure only marginally improved from October's 72.4%. Despite the availability of basic food items, rising prices make them inaccessible to many people. Weather conditions intensify the crisis, with abnormal droughts and heavy rains damaging farmlands and impacting agricultural output. Haiti's escalating food insecurity is further aggravated by gang violence and economic slowdown. As a result of the ongoing violence, there has also been a surge in displaced persons, complicating any progress made so far. South Korea has banned the consumption and sale of dog meat, marking a significant move toward animal welfare. The law, passed with overwhelming support, seeks to end the centuries-old, increasingly scarce practice, mainly followed by older individuals and certain eateries. The practice, once regarded as a stamina booster during the summer, has decreased due to a rise in pet ownership and criticism of inhumane slaughtering techniques. After a 3-year grace period, violations of the ban will result in hefty penalties. The bill also aims to provide compensation to businesses that will be affected by the ban. However, the Korean Association of Edible Dogs, representing breeders and sellers, plans to challenge the law's legitimacy in the country's constitutional court. Ecuador is in a state of emergency following the escape of infamous drug lord Jose Adolfo Macias, also known as Fido, which has led to prison unrest. The president has declared a 60-day military mobilization and nightly curfew, hoping to manage the crisis. Fido's escape and the resulting uncertainty has disrupted the lives of many Ecuadorians, raising security concerns. Increasing gang violence in the country, largely within prisons, has claimed the lives of 460 inmates since 2021. This tension was aggravated after prison unrest in 6 provinces and the hostage situation involving guards. In response, the government is considering new measures, such as creating a separate judicial system for serious crimes and constructing 2 new maximum security prisons. In Australia, new legislation has outlawed the Nazi salute and the use or sale of related hate symbols. The move is a response to a surge in hate and anti-Semitic incidents in the country, including a clash involving neo-Nazis in Melbourne and charges against men performing a Nazi salute outside the Sydney Jewish Museum. The new law makes it illegal to display or trade in Nazi insignia, such as the swastika and the lightning bolt of the SS. The law also prohibits the display of symbols associated with designated terrorist groups, including ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the PKK, which is Kurdistan's Worker Party. The regulations have led to legal complications for pro-Palestine groups who are now barred from displaying the Hamas flag. The measure aligns federal law with state legislation, reinforcing Australia's stance against hate symbols. The Central Bank of Nigeria is warning about the circulation of fake banknotes in major cities, issuing serious penalties for any involvement in counterfeiting. The public and businesses, especially in commercial areas and food markets, are encouraged to stay vigilant in preventing the acceptance and distribution of these counterfeit notes. The bank is working with security and financial agencies to arrest those responsible and seize the fake notes. Those found guilty of making or using counterfeit money face severe penalties, including a minimum 5-year jail sentence. People are urged to report any suspicious currency to the police, the bank, or via email. To reduce the risk of handling counterfeit money, the bank encourages the public to use electronic methods for everyday transactions. Also in Nigeria, the country has destroyed $11.2 million worth of seized elephant tusks to strengthen its fight against wildlife trafficking. Throughout the past 3 decades, Nigeria has seen a steep decline in its elephant population, from 1,500 to less than 400, primarily due to illegal ivory poaching. The ivory, reduced to powder, will be used to construct a monument symbolizing the significance of elephants to the ecosystem. Despite an international ban, the illegal ivory trade remains active, with thousands of elephants killed each year for their tusks. Nigeria, a hub for this illicit activity, has intensified its counter-smuggling operations, with major seizures of illegal wildlife parks reported in recent years. These actions have been met with public approval, particularly considering recent social media videos showing military personnel shooting elephants, which sparked widespread outrage. Be sure to follow our channel on Telegram called United Network News Channel. This is our official Telegram channel. It's where you'll find direct links to our newscasts and our in-depth field messenger reports. And we would also like to introduce you to CARE's newly ratified new Health and Wellness Department. You can connect with the Center for Health and Wellness of Earth, or CHWE community, by joining the Telegram channel. Simply search for Center for Health Wellness of Earth. CARE, the Center for Amity and Restoration of Earth, will be adding several channels in the next few weeks where you can join the conversation in different areas of restoration.
And now, the World Situation Report with Kimberly Gogan from the Office of the Guardian. The ability for continuance of government is being called into question by several G20 nations. The governments, Federal Reserve, and treasuries around the world are seeing big changes in the financial system, and decisions are being made. Lots of closed-door meetings are happening today to determine what, if anything, they can do. Let's talk about ancient texts, prophecies, and religious texts. Just how accurate are they? And why it's important to use your intuition and discernment.
All right, now here's Kimberly Gogan with the Office of the Guardian. Hi, Kim.
Ooh, just slid into home base over here.
Are you out of breath?
A little bit, I ran. Unfortunately, not so far away, but I did run. All right, we got lots to talk about today based on what we discussed on Monday. So just as a quick recap, on Monday we discussed what the base roots of the financial system were, how everything came to be, and this also played into the base roots of the power structure of planet Earth. So let's talk about the base root structures of planet Earth. We have done a video, which was done in I think it was last year in July, not this past year, the year before, that talked about the worldwide government structures of the order, who was above the order, and those types of things. So just in case you missed it, hopefully we can get that reposted on our social media in the next couple days. But it went kind of like this. So there was a seat, 3 seats at the top, known as the seat of Marduk, Enki, and Enlil. Okay, these were not human beings, and these were titles. It has no relevance to an actual being, like, your name is Sunny, my name is Kim, and therefore, once Kim is no longer in the seat, perhaps, Bill would take her place or something like that. I mean, if this was in a corporate kind of structure. So none of those people have been around and in power since 2016. Next, underneath them, we had 21 parents. Now, the parents were human beings, which had been given life extension technologies, and they could live up to 7,000 years, 8,000 years, 9,000 years, utilizing advanced technologies. And some of these people were famous figures throughout history. For example, Nefertiti being one of them. Next, below the parents, we had covens and coven masters. The coven masters would be over the covens. They would take direct orders from the parents, and the parents would take direct orders from Marduk, Enki, and Enlil. On down past the covens, covens would be, for example, the Sanhedrin. If we were talking about that sector. The various families had various types of covens over them, but just wanted to give you one example. Below them, now you start getting into the names you know. You would get into names you know, such as the Medicis, the Aldebrandinis, the Rothschilds, the Lee family of China, the Lee family, Lee as well, out of Singapore, the Bowers of the world. So you're now getting into like your Committee of 300 members, your Illuminati, if you will, your Pindars, those types of people. And then on down the food chain into other government control structures. Now, the base bondholders were Enki, Enlil, and Marduk. And also the Abraxas. Now, the bonds that were issued that the families were aware of were way down the food chain, and this is what created government control or control over governments, and actually the advent of governments and government structures. So it was birthed from the very beginning, and I'm explaining this to you today for a reason, because there seems to be a lot of confusion as to what's going on. Now, underneath the families, certain families were responsible for financial sectors, which is why when we talk finance, we have talked a lot about, or others have talked a lot about the Rothschilds being the banksters and the Khazarian Mafia being the banksters. It's just because those people, whether they knew it or not, a few levels up the food chain, reported directly to the parents that were in charge of the financial sector of the world. There were others that were in charge of, for example, the political sectors. You know, those may fall in part both financial and also non-financial matters. And those non-financial matters would be, who's going to be president, and oftentimes it would be someone from both sectors. So, for example, in the past, we've had like President Reagan in the United States, and President Reagan and his vice president. So President Reagan was a member of the Order of the Black Sun. So was Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Cheney, and so on and so forth. Biden would be more on the Rothschild side, where Camilla would be more of Black Sun side. So there's definitely an order to things on how they choose these heads of state. So then we have the corporate governance of planet Earth and the non-compete plan. By corporate governance, we mean there were specific corporations owned by both the Order of the Black Sun and the Order of the Black Dragon, the Order of the Dragon, and both sides shared in that corporate control of planet Earth. For example, there's a reason why the Rockefeller family was permitted to start Standard Oil way back in the day, which was then divided into names you know, such as BP and what they call the Seven Sisters, the largest oil companies in the world, which control somewhere around 85 to 95% of the world's oil reserves. Yes, they do. Then you would have other companies that were in charge of agriculture, names you know, such as Monsanto, other names such as Dole. And these are your big corporates. And then, of course, we have Big Pharma, which is another sector of big corporate. And you have your Pfizers, your Modernas, and all of the major names you know. So what's been happening in the last 48 hours, predominantly it started steamrolling on Sunday night slightly, but by Monday, Tuesday, and especially overnight last night, we have finally gone from the roots being a problem, the roots of the tree, for us to going all the way through to the branches and the leaves now. Okay. So, issues that have presented themselves in the last 24 to 48 hours. Interpol has now launched an investigation into why there is a problem worldwide with continuance of government. The FBI has also launched an investigation here in the United States as to the continuance of government in the United States, or the disruption of continuance of government in the United States. Things the FBI has begun investigating overnight are fraud against the United States government. Now, this would be your SSP members, your secret space program members that have just wait till a day ending in Y, all of these types of things. And they have them all on video as walking into the Treasury Department and or on recording as to calling the Treasury Department, telling them not to do their job, which is causing a disruption of government business, which is Section 1752-A-2 under the federal government. Under the it's not the Constitution, I shouldn't say that, but it's causing a disruption of government business. Also, they are launching an investigation under Section 1505, obstructing congressional proceedings. So Congress is unable to vote new laws into effect and have them ratified in the National Archives in the Hall of Records. They have also been unable, they are now realizing this, they have also been unable to ratify new politicians in any country in the world as an official head of state. They are now coming to the conclusion that the people that they have been looking to do this are not the right people. Other things that are being thrown around by the FBI currently are the banks. The banks have been are being investigated currently for filing fraudulent numbers through to the SEC. Yes. Attempting to file fraudulent bankruptcy using fraudulent numbers and conveyance to the federal government in a court of law. Okay. There is also an investigation into tax authorities worldwide being spearheaded by Interpol and also in the United States by the FBI for the conveyance of 80% fraudulent transference of 80% of federal taxes to a third-party entity. I'm not kidding you. This is happening, Sonny.
Is that the Rothschild transfer? Is that what that's referring to?
Yes.
80%? Okay.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Question: the people, Interpol, the people that are investigating, did they legitimately not know that this stuff was happening? Is this new information to them, or are they just tired of same old, and they're taking action?
I would say it's in part both. Part of this is new information. A lot of the agencies were aware that, let's just say there was a higher power in this world. But they are now looking for, and this is a quote, they are now looking for who's the real authority here.
Okay.
And by yesterday afternoon, they have figured out the following. Number one, it is not the SSP or the Secret Space Force, the 15 militaries we talk about all the time. It is not those people. And number two, it is not the Order of the Black Sun. It is not the Black Pope. It is not the Vatican. Number three, it is not the Rothschild family. It is not the Chinese family in China. It is not any of these people, because if it were, the following things would not be happening. Number one, the original pulling of all the collateral. If it was them that actually did it, they would be able to have stopped it. Mm-hmm. So since that time, especially from this morning, or yesterday morning, I should say, until this morning, all of the bonds that were created digitally and otherwise against the collateral, aka you as citizens of your respective countries, have been going away. They're just deleting at a rapid rate from the financial system, to include but not limited to treasury bonds and government bonds. Now remember, these are assets. of banks and assets formerly of the Fed and assets formerly of your respective central banks, treasuries, and governments. If they were the ones in charge and in control, then they should be able to stop it from happening. Mm-hmm. And they cannot. Now, as one example in the corporate world, SWIFT. You're familiar with SWIFT, Sunny? Yeah. Okay. SWIFT is an international transfer system. Now, in the technology world, SWIFT is a glorified email system. That's all it ever was. So technically, if you were sitting in, say, Germany, and you sent an email to me, say, in America, how long does it take to typically reach you?
It should be almost instantaneous.
It should be almost instantaneous, as is SWIFT. Okay. It is an instantaneous email from one party to another. However, you probably know, if you've made any international transfers in your life, and if you're watching this, that sometimes it can take, depending on what country you're in, it could take 24 hours, it could take 48 hours, it could take a week, it could take up to 2 weeks to receive a SWIFT transfer, and sometimes even longer. Now, let me tell you why that is the case. The same goes for wire transfers, IBAN transfers, ACH transfers, and all the other types of transfers we make around the world in various systems, including UnionPay in China, the SIPS system, the Russian payment system, you name it. Now, what SWIFT got called on this morning, which is the same thing that is happening with all other transfer systems as well, is they had, when we were the collateral to their financial system, SWIFT is a Rothschild-owned company.
Of course.
I know you're shocked and surprised. Is they would actually use the money that was in SWIFT to trade against. So they had a margin account issued to them against all the monies that is in SWIFT so that they would trade against those monies while it was in transit.
Wow.
Now, unfortunately for them, since they no longer have the custody of human beings and the custody of human beings' energy, also known as money, there was an enormous margin call against SWIFT that happened this morning because their line of credit went away. That margin account went away. So when I tell you the leaves of the tree are falling, they are falling rapidly. Also, the functionality of a system we call here in the United States, and it's pretty much a worldwide system, it's called MERS. This is your mortgage electronic recording service, which allows them to issue derivatives against your mortgage. Also, collateralized mortgage obligations also have no value currently because they don't have the right to leverage your loan, so to speak, because we're not in a debt system anymore. This will eventually trickle down to you, the consumer. So it's important to understand this. We also have, in the business world, we have CDOs, CDLs, CDSs, which are basically the same relative in the business world. So or corporate debt obligations, those types of different things. This is also going to have a significant effect in the corporate debt market, the corporate stock market, and many other areas of the world. And this is why I sent that message out on Telegram, to be ever mindful. If the bond market falls, the stock market is going to fall.
But fall doesn't mean crash, does it?
It could.
It could crash.
It could. Mm-hmm. Now, and I'm going to give you the fix at the end of this on where we're going, because Additionally, the Treasury Department has also filed complaints today with the FBI in regards to people that keep showing up there and causing physical bodily harm to Treasury people. They don't want to hear from those people anymore. So that
SSP?
it's been, well, you know, we keep going rounds with different people. It's the SSP now, Langley 5, other various generals, people in the military, whoever it is, anywhere at this moment in time is, you know, they're not welcome. They cannot do business with this, just give us till the 15th, coming back early on the 4th, you know, all of these types of things. So we're having a situation where, and you're having a situation here where government employees are starting to feel like they have the right to stand up for themselves, which before they didn't feel like they had the ability to. And this is actually a worldwide situation. Now, you can say all our governments are bad, but you're going to look at the person that works, for example, at your Department of Motor Vehicles, or, you know, those people as evil people. They're not, okay? They're just not. Public transit systems. Think about all the people that work for not only the U.S. government, but for governments all over the world in various public systems. They're not bad people. No. You know, they just had bad management and bad leadership, and also false management and false leadership, at least for the last several years. So complaints, things we're hearing around right now. The Republican caucus has already filed for to oust Johnson, this current Speaker of the House. Now, the reason why is because he has failed to move beyond the fact that the aides of his, which they're all Johnsons, so you know, we all know what a Johnson is, and which is an SSP term from an umbrella military corporation person. So they know that he is reporting to a third-party entity. He has failed to have any new Republican senators and so on and so forth ratified in the Hall of Records and then therefore into the National Archives. They are saying he's obstructing the government, its ability to do business. So he's been accused of that. Also, he is affecting the continuance of government. Now, in part, that is true because no one has gotten to the real authority as it relates to the financial system that can fix it, or the party that controls the Hall of Records that is responsible for your ratifications, because there's always a third-party person in the middle that claims it's them, and that is false. So it has been a whirlwind of shattering epic proportions, which started yesterday afternoon, as to multiple failures worldwide. And what we're only seeing is the tip of the iceberg right now. And it's going to get worse, and it's going to get public. Now, here are the solutions to this situation. People are asking about market failures. They're asking about their personal savings and pension funds and these types of things, especially those that are on a government pension, whether that be a veterans all over the world, or it could be teachers, it could be anyone that's on some kind of a pension. Okay, since the banking system and the financial system currently has no collateral, the algorithms that have been running overnight, all night long, are switching from a debt-based system to an asset-backed system. Now, what does this mean, and what does it mean for you personally? Okay, we have chosen a compilation of metals as an asset. That means basically every bit of gold on this planet, silver, diamonds, you name it. There are also some other minerals like rhodium and other hyperconductors of energy that are in this mix. We have divided them by not only each currency, so the location in the world where that currency is required. We also divided them all between the little over 8 billion people that walk this earth. So you are technically the beneficiaries of that. Now that means two things to you. Number one, it means anything that's issued by these metals, you are allowed your portion as a beneficiary, which means direct energy delivery from source directly to your human being without interference of a third-party entity, a third-party consciousness, a third-party, you name it, families or otherwise, Gnostic people or otherwise, because that's also come up in the last couple of days. So that means not only energy directly into your human without a haircut, as it's called in the financial world, you now also can receive money directly. Okay? This is also very important because money is energy. Now, your portion of gold, I want to put this out there because people are going to be confused about this. In the old way of doing things, banks would have had an algorithm or rules of the financial system which would have allowed a certain amount of leverage against an asset like gold, diamonds, or silver. For example, Treasury departments were allowed a 50-to-1 ratio. Banks were allowed a 25-to-1. And if you, as a consumer, if it's legal for you to hold gold in your country the way it was, you would have been allowed 80 to 85% of the value of the gold itself. That's how it worked in a credit system. However, the system now recognizes the fact that gold is an ever-abundant producer of energy. Therefore, within reason, we still have to adhere to the laws of supply and demand here, because the rules under natural law are take what you need and leave the rest. You can only be at 100% energy. You can only fill your gas tank, so to speak, at the pump with 100%. You can only fill it 100% of the way. You can't fill it 150% of the way, and that is a mentality that we have fallen prey to called lack.
Yeah.
Lack was a consciousness. We will need to learn as humans on how to take what you need and leave the rest, because it's not necessary. There's an abundant flow available to you. But if I go all the way down to your account and I register your bank account per se, and then there is the unbanked, which there's a section for that as well, and I register your bank account as technically the direct beneficiary of gold, so to speak, then gold being a hyperconductor of that source energy, which does actually start out as an energy, and then it moves its way through the planes of existence and becomes a physical item in your account. And I assign it to all of those individuals. Now we have not backed, quote unquote, the banking system. We have backed the people's monetary system that we utilize without giving the bank an asset, without giving the governments an asset, and without giving the Federal Reserve an asset. They are no longer managers of your money. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So there's going to have to be, because let's just look at it this way. There's not that many people, when you look at 8 billion and some change people on the planet, the people watching this might understand what I'm saying. But the people that haven't watched this won't understand what I'm saying. So there's going to have to be a little bit of an intervention from the Office of the Currency Curator, which is me, to make sure that we're keeping a balanced system and we're not imploding and people aren't going to work anymore, even if that's in a new field, to enjoy the things they like to do, and those types of things. And until we can move away from oppressive corporate structures and move into more of a free enterprise type structure worldwide, it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a few years. And that's part of what CARE is designed to do. It's designed to teach everyone that this is a free enterprise type structure with security, because right now we need security. So this is the intention before the banking system crashes. So currencies will not crash, because currencies belong to the office of the currency of the curator, right? This is confusing to people, but it's always belonged to the person that sat in my chair before me. Now, at the switch of the Dark Ages over to the Light Ages, Marduk, Enki, and Enlil would not have been allowed to be in charge. It has to be someone, like I said, with this particular amount of essence and that co-creative connection, and all of you will have that same restoration soon. So, as we learn and grow as a people, as a humanity. But for now, it'll be guarded. Just like people have a guardian sometimes, whether that's your parents or that's another legal guardian that takes care of you until we, quote unquote, become or have the ability to live in a world full of sovereign beings. But it's our job to educate these people and to teach them a new way. And that's why the formation of CARE is so important. And I'm encouraging groups, even Telegram groups, and people to kind of get together and start figuring out how we're going to go forward, both, as individual groups and collectively as a team. Yeah. This is about individualized decisions, individualized ideas. There must be an execution on that idea once you have formulated it collectively or individually. And then that collective group has to move forward together. We need to start remembering it's not an us against you, you against us kind of thing. It's an us. Yeah. And nobody's leaving this planet, hopefully, anytime soon. We're in it together. We're going to have to roll up our sleeves and teach the world, well, for lack of a better term, to sing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Except for me, because that's just a hopeless cause at this point,
Not true. Okay, so I have a question, though. Okay, the practicality of this. Okay, so gold, all right. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Like, what could be a realistic situation? So we're all granted a portion of this gold, precious minerals, and then it's transferred into money, essentially, goes into our accounts. Does that automatically happen? Is that a source or alpha system, harmonic genesis system process? Or is that someone that is releasing that funds based on certain things? Because you said you had to monitor certain things. Mm-hmm. So does that just automatically happen? Like you just wake up and there's money and then it may just increase because I don't know, how does that work? I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
Well, initially, we do have a monetary system, which has only been around for about 500 years. Okay. And in the world of your soul, and in the world of source, that's like a second, a nanosecond, even a zeptosecond. Yeah. It's a very short period of time. So what we're trying to do is come up with an interim algorithm, which is, this is me programming, an interim algorithm that recognizes the fact that you, as a beneficiary of the energy that the gold produces, because you don't need a whole lot. If you go back through history, there is a part of history where Egyptians used to eat these small cakes. And they were probably about half the size of your average American hamburger, which is enormous unto itself. But, they were small. And they were basically monatomic gold cakes. And the reason why they would eat them is so that they could conduct that source energy into their bodies.
Okay.
Okay. It's not necessary to eat it, But in the physical world, it does change your molecular structure, or used to, before we went into a fiat monetary system. And the energy was siphoned off before it even gets to you. So you can have the monatomic gold, and that's great, and you may inch yourself up by about 0.5% or something, but it's not significant like it used to be. Now let's look at the world of electronics. Gold is used a lot in the manufacturing of electronics because of it is the best conductor of energy. I know, in homes we often use copper, which is sufficient for what it's conducting, but it's not the best.
Yeah.
So gold could be used to conduct in the past, ultimate dark energy, ultimate light energy, and a lot of different things in between. So when you look at our electrical grid and how toxic it is to you, you're getting both in predominantly dark energy. Now, in the world of computing, gold can also be used as a hyperconductor for source energy, which is what your computer systems are running on predominantly now. We're no longer the 21% in the background. Remember, I said we were in the 90s. So now, if I put that as a hyperconductor registered to each individual's bank account, now there's nothing stopping that energy from being pulled into your account, just like the ancient Egyptians used to do it within their body.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It's just a completely different way of doing things. So my mind is having to reconstruct. I mean, it's a much better way of doing things, obviously. So does that mean that people that have more source energy would have more money because of the conductivity? Or I don't know. Or does everyone get the same amount?
No, what it means is now we should have the ability, once this is complete. I haven't done it yet due to I was waiting to see the results of those meetings, and I'll tell you about those as well.
Okay.
But it doesn't appear anybody else is going anywhere fast, and there's only one solution at this moment in time to fix the banking or our monetary system, and this appears to be it. So I'm guessing by the end of the day, it'll probably start converting over to this other system with the veins of gold and everything that's already been predispositioned or pre-positioned, I should say, in the global repository. So it'll start making its way down into the other planes to where you actually are. Because I see it as the only solution to save the monetary system, meaning currencies and those types of things. Now, as an individual, okay, what does this mean for you? That means your person is designed to obviously take in source energy, but you can only be at 100%.
Right.
Being at 100% means that you can still generate more energy for your plants around you, for the people around you, for the animals around you, and you are more adept at this because you've been watching this for a while. So now, do other people actually understand the principle of take what you need and leave the rest? Repeat that for a minute and I'll explain to you what it means. Take what you need and leave the rest. We are not hoarders of energy.
Yeah.
So when you say how much money does an individual need or want, are you hoarding it? Are you preventing others from getting it? Are you not paying your employees on a new business, a project, or whatever it is you're designing, you're preparing for under care, as an example? Are you saying, okay, I will take what I need and I will leave the rest? In other words, you take what you need and you spread that energy out to all of the people that work with you.
Yeah.
You're giving them energy now, not taking their energy for a wage. That's a debt system.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense a little bit?
Yeah.
You're giving it to your kids. You're giving it to your family. That can be in the form of goods, services, or it can be in the form of an allowance to your kids, their education, whatever that is. You are responsible for providing for those that can't provide for themselves right now. And that can even be other adults, depending on the situation that you're in and the place you're in around the world. But if you go against what the giver of all energy and the giver of all life's rules are, and you begin hoarding this, it's not going to work out well for you.
Wow. So essentially you could be cut off if you do that, or the money would stop coming.
That's right, because it's not flowing. The energy is not flowing.
And that would automatically happen through the system. That isn't a person doing that. That's source itself doing that.
You are only a co-creator. I'm sorry to say, myself included, I am only a co-creator.
Yeah.
So a co-creator is only permitted to co-create with the source of all creation. You cannot do it alone. It doesn't work. And the natural law of things is take what you need and leave the rest.
Wow.
And it's the same thing with me. I can distribute, as guardian at the moment, I have certain responsibilities to make sure that we don't all kind of go hairy-carry and cause harm to each other, because the majority of people in the world don't understand what it is I'm saying. Take what you need and leave the rest. We're all wealthy.
Yeah.
Abundantly in so many ways. And here's some thoughts that, crossed my mind about this, to kind of put it into perspective for you. How much do you get from your children, Sunny?
Oh my gosh, so much. I don't even know how to quantify that.
How about your pets?
Same. I mean,
your friends, your family. We surround ourselves with these people because we give to them and they give to us.
Yeah.
We all have good days and bad days, and sometimes we're great humans and sometimes we're not. But you take what you need and you give the rest. Mm-hmm. And it feels so good to give.
It does.
At least it does for me.
Of course.
Whether that's to my child, and it doesn't have to be monetary. Sometimes it's just us exchanging and having a conversation, or she'll ask me for advice or those types of things. It feels good to see the smile on my dog's face when I take it for a walk. I take her for a walk. The philosophy is going to travel into the financial system in the way that we generate money. Take what you need and leave the rest. Walk softly and do no harm. All of these principles come into play. So are you saying, is there an abundant flow of money? Well, in some respects, I guess, more than we've ever seen it before. But you're kind of in charge of that too. And remember, the way energy, love energy, because that's what source is love energy, right? It's that feeling, it's that frequency, it's the vibration of love. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're starting to, like you said, hoarding is one thing, right? The other thing you have to look out for too is trying to do negative things with positive energy, like create a war. Yeah. It's just not possible anymore.
So how do we prevent a situation? Because this is the whole thing with Nasara Jasara. Like, if everyone just got all this money, wouldn't everyone just kind of quit their jobs and not do, their work? How does that, how does that tie into that? How does that work?
So that is where we sat down, unfortunately, at the poker game here. And the hand has already been partially dealt.
Yeah.
So we're not going to, we've been driving down the road at about 110 miles an hour now for a few hundred years in relation to our current monetary structure. So we're not going to slam on the brakes and have everybody go through the windshield. Mm-hmm. Because that's what would happen if we did things incorrectly.
Yeah.
meaning, there'd be no place to check out at the grocery stores. There'd be no food in the grocery stores. There'd be no truck drivers to deliver that food. There would be no, but we can live in less of a lack type situation. Right. And that's where the advent of interim programs like Assurance we've talked about, as well as Essentials we've talked about, which then kind of bridges that gap for all of those that have no idea who we are and no idea what it is I'm telling you right now. And this would go right over their head. Yeah. They're still waiting for a president to come back or somebody to come back or whatever to save the day. They just have never had anything better or anything else in their life. So the important, on a personal level, takeaway from this is to take what you need and leave the rest. There's no such thing as 200% full. And if you've sat down to a holiday meal, you might have gotten close, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary. You take what you need, leave the rest, give the rest. Yeah. Whether that's to employees in your new company, underneath your new project, or it's others in your community and you're just providing a community service or, counseling or anything to help people, whatever it is you're passionate about. That could be in the form of writing music that other people might want to listen to. There's so many options now to where you have an abundant flow of energy for contributing to the humanity as a whole. Yeah. But do you see the differences in a debt system versus an asset-based system when you're not the asset? Yeah. But initially, it will serve as a hyperconductor to ensure that the gold, aka energy, is free-flowing into your account, so to speak. That's the important thing here. Now, it also goes to support all of the currencies around the world, unfortunately underneath the office of the currency of curator, but we have the key integrated monetary system, which kind of is like, as long as it's programmed correctly, which it is and has been for a long time, that'll do the monitoring on an individualized basis. So no longer, if the governments choose to have a non-continuance of government, which at this point kind of looks that way, then the plan forward in the very near future, and I mean very near future, this is not far away, the plan forward is to support all the currencies that we currently use worldwide on an individualized basis, being monitored by the key integrated monetary system under the orders and instructions of the Office of the Curator of Currency, which is me. I'm going to get another hat for that. So, but like I said, we still have current things that society accepts as a whole, such as supply and demand, production versus demand. There are other things at play here too, such as job creation. By the old standards of job creation, and there's a two-person's name that was it's like a worldwide study they had done a while back about job creation and what a job means. But we have to change those standards to basically allow for the fact that you are rewarded with the more energy you give other people. You see? But we also have to be cautious because our current system will respond in an inflationary way. Right. Here's what I mean by that. Right now, the producers of milk in your respective countries, and I'm not talking about the animal itself, it's going to abundantly supply it until you stop, doing that. But the milk, the cost of milk may be, the equivalent of $1 US, let's just say, depending on where you are in the world. We're just going to call it that right now. Now, what dairy farmers will do, because they don't understand the new system, they're not a part of this network, so they don't understand what's happening, they're going to think, well, my gosh, everybody in the country now is making double what they were making before. Therefore, I can raise the price of milk to $5 and you're not getting anywhere. So before you know it, your pay is increasing, but the cost of living isn't increasing until everybody kind of gets it, which is why I say Nasara Jasara would never work.
Right.
Because if you increase, then there will be an equal and opposite effect, especially in cabal-controlled corporations, which then affect all other corporations. For example, the controller of silica sand is going to dictate the price of a mirror in your bathroom because it's made of glass, right? All glass production, glass bottles, glass containers, the price of those are going to go up. Therefore, the price of things in it, such as pickles, is going to go up. Do you see how we could cause a hyperinflationary situation if it's not monitored? It's not a lack of respect from myself to you. It's just a matter of changing the system as the world changes with it. So we don't create this situation where, we're sending out abundant amounts of energy, aka money, and then they're just increasing the prices accordingly. So until people start getting out of that lack programming and lack mentality, and that includes the corporate world, and then the programming that started in the 70s, like lifestyles of the rich and famous, and everybody needs to have a yacht and a Ibiza, and all of these types of programs, because it's really not necessary. It's just wasteful. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure having a yacht is nice. I've never even been on one. I don't care to ever go on one. I could care less. We start improving living standards on the way we move around the world. Our transportation has to change. And these are the responsibilities of care.
Yeah.
We understand the direct mentality of, and if we were to sum up the care mission statement in one statement, one sentence, it would be take what you need and leave the rest. And all business plans should flow accordingly into take what you need and leave the rest. Because the money won't stop flowing as long as you don't stop giving it. Mm-hmm. But we don't need abuses right now as we learn and grow. So does that make sense now when you were asking about, is it just ever abundant, ever flowing?
Yeah. Yeah, it does make sense. So then what would it slowly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around, we need to educate people so that they understand how this works now. Mm-hmm. What do we do in the interim? Like, let's say, the financial markets, everything kind of crashes or does, it's irrelevant anymore. And we're just working with the system we're talking about I guess I'm just trying to figure out, before everyone is aware, how do we prevent some of the worst case scenarios that we just discussed from happening?
Okay. Now, this is all going to be dependent on decisions that are going to be made today in these meetings. Thus far, it has yet to be determined if banks will continue to work with us. If they do, they will be provided a sufficient and a decent amount of money to provide a service for you. That means you can walk into a building and still deposit a check. Mm-hmm. You can walk into a building and deposit cash or receive cash. You can transfer money from one place to another or one bank to another, and they provide this as a service.
Sure.
That type of thing. So they would become a service provider and would be compensated very well for doing it.
From care.
Now, yes, from care, from me, the Office of the Currency Curator, right? Okay. They will be provided and compensated not by you, the consumer, but by us. Now, what does that mean initially in a short period of time if this can be worked out? That means, number one, we have no reason to have an interest rate. There'll be a service fee provided to service anything that you take out of the bank, such as initially, we unfortunately would not be able to get rid of a mortgage program. Meaning, nobody is understanding, what do you mean I don't get a mortgage? You're just going to give me money? What's the catch here?
Yeah.
It's a mentality thing. So, bear with us, but you'll always have the money to pay the mortgage, so it's okay. But we don't really need interest rates anymore because there's no lending anymore.
Right.
There's nothing due back to the Omega system. The debt system doesn't work that way. The same thing will work for credit cards and other things. If we have bank cooperation, they'll be able to make plenty of money providing a service, meaning collecting those payments or dispersing of lending to purchase items, those types of things. Now, that would be like an interim step, not an end goal. So don't panic. But interim-wise, we can make inch moves like this if the banks choose to stay in business, just not the way they are. Now, that would also include them no longer being a part of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, if they should and choose to continue their existence in this world, they could actually become a part, an integrated part into the Treasury and handle things like regulations and making sure that all banks are acting on behalf of consumers. Obviously, they would have to change the things that are being regulated and all of those types of things. But to be fair, for quite some time, so there's no abuse of the system, we are going to need to kind of, banks are going to need some different training. There's no capital account required at the Federal Reserve anymore, those types of things. All they're doing is basically utilizing the key integrated monetary system to monitor things worldwide, which it's kind of runs itself. But also as an enforcement arm, making sure that things go smoothly. Now, there's still a lot of accounting and all of those types of things that needs to happen as it relates to spending tax. So even though we might not have an income tax anymore in the future, especially, I was actually really surprised to see that everybody is investigating where all the taxes are going in the world today. That's only been overnight, so we'll see what happens from there on out. But it's a step in the right direction for sure, based on the XN tax authority in Belgium and everything we had explained. So I would hope to see a spending tax, which is still going to need some kind of budget, Office of Budget Management, and all of those types of things to keep things running if there is a continuance of government. And of course, this is their choice. Mm-hmm. As of today, the mentality still exists of if someone dies, you just find someone that looks kind of like them, about the same height. And I've heard that this morning. There was actually a warning not to put out information as to who these people are because there's others that have disappeared. And I'm like, you have no right to tell me what to do. Yeah. Anymore. And if that's your biggest concern today, then, we need to take a look at our own internal selves here because, you can prance around the pony all you want, but if no one's coming to the circus anymore, you're in trouble. So I don't see a crash of currencies, to answer your question. That'll solve that problem, outlined in detail. If banks want to come to the party, we can still use them in a transitionary period, which is going to be quite a while, as a service provider, to which is something we would pay directly. Okay. Now, that's going to mean a lifestyle change. For the banks. It doesn't mean they're not going to get paid good money and all that kind of stuff. But as far as these ridiculous families interfering, installing backdoors into banks, stealing people's money, holding money for margin accounts like SWIFT and IBAN and the FedWire system and all, that's all ending. That's ending. Participate, don't participate. Either way, we will make it. And we will go it alone. It's not going to disrupt point of sale systems. Remember, merchant systems, those types of things are also involved here. So there's a lot of things right now that small businesses are paying for that they don't need to. And then, corporate giants, Google, Apple, I'm sure there's better products out there. In a free enterprise world, I'm sure we could create other ones. And you can either go with our program or it's not going to be long before you're going to get out of the way.
Yeah, it's true.
But events are definitely unfolding rapidly as people are coming to the conclusion, governments and otherwise, that the world doesn't work the way it used to. As another example, NATO, NATO, under the alliance, has basically come to the conclusion that they are not getting the funding from their alliance partners they should be. Under the agreement and the alliance, the United States government is predominantly responsible for the funding of NATO. Now, NATO has been used as the private military of the Order of the Dragon, namely the Rothschild family, and they have been taking orders from them since their inception. Although Bush, which has been wiped off their website, Bush Sr. is the one that developed the treaty, and as part of the security provided by the Order of the Black Sun, they predominantly ran it, the orders, carried out the orders, all of those types of things. But NATO has realized the cash cow, the jig is up. You know, they've been running around sending weapons to Turkey and Azerbaijan and a number of other places in the Middle East, preparing for World War III based on instructions that they're getting from the Chinese Li family and the Rothschild family, insert name here because Bowers Rothschild as well, and so on and so forth. And they have been following these orders and instructions, and nothing is coming. They gave a very short window to the U.S. government to put out, or they are standing down on all orders.
How short, Kim? What's the window?
Short was not defined in the back chatter.
Okay.
It sounded like by short, by the tone of their voice, you know, you're talking 24 hours, 48 hours, it's not long. They're going to stand down on all orders, and probably, the organization has been dissolved legally anyway. It's not even registered in the Hall of Records anymore, so I don't even recognize them as an entity to fund.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's got to be some real talking that has to take place here. You know, we are preparing to move on anyway in the next 24 hours because we will not let the monetary, it's not the same as the banking system, the monetary system of humanity die. Mm-hmm. So that's where the world is at right now, it sounds like. That's the World Situation Report since Monday. Today's only Wednesday, and it feels like I just gave the report for like the next 3 weeks.
So, Kim, does that mean that you can safely transfer money directly to humans now in their own accounts to be able to do that?
All of the programs that have prevented that have been, you know, in the last couple of days, we have worked for, you know, hours and hours and hours doing that, making sure there was nothing left connected to that slave program. In theory, once we deposit the gold, which we have not done yet, that should be the final piece. And we should be able to try again, hopefully after the news, so maybe in an hour or two, make sure that we're still moving it. So if there's something else that's there, I don't think that there is. We have not tried. We have not had time to try in the last, you know, it's been pretty busy on all fronts. So we'll be trying again this afternoon. It's been probably a week since we've tried pushing stuff through. That's where we found the haircut. Yeah. Then that led us to the slavery of humanity programs and a bunch of other stuff. So, you know, transferring and not being you know, I think it was Einstein or somebody that says, you know, I might not know the key to success, but, you know, I've definitely, I have never had a failure. I've only found 100 or 1,000 different ways it didn't work or something like that.
It's something to do with the light bulb, right? I actually discovered 99,000 or whatever, you know, ways to not create a light bulb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was one of those things. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And I feel the same way with the financial system, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
well, I feel like the timing of this is so perfect, like with everything that, you know, is going on and, you know, people are standing up and kind of defending themselves a little bit more and kind of like a we're not going to take it anymore attitude combined with this. And, you know, we've always said sources timing is perfect, but I just feel like it's just coming together obviously exactly the way it's supposed to.
Well, exactly. And you know, whether the deep state recognizes it or not, you know, or the governments recognize it or not, or even people recognize it or not, it doesn't matter because it is. In other words, the position as guardian, currency curator, and ground command, and all the other things that I do in my day, it's not about recognition for me. The only party in the entire multiverse I care about actually recognizing any of these things is Source. That's it. Because it allows me to co-create under those various programs. See, under the guise of doing the job, it allows me to co-create under those programs. And a company, a government, a nation, a planet is only as good as its leader. And it's an energy that you're putting out. So when you stop accepting injustices in your own life, the entire planet now feels energetically and possibly even subconsciously that they are no longer going to accept injustices in their life. And then all of a sudden, everybody's standing up.
Yeah.
It only starts with a spark. It's the same thing with everything you do, even under care. It's just a spark. You know, Sonny, if you had gone out and had an argument with someone, a friend or whatever it is, and you come back into your house and you're obviously in a little bit of a rough mood, before you know it, all four of your kids are yelling at each other and your husband's probably yelling at you and everything else. And you don't realize it only started with one spark.
Yeah, so true.
This, you know, and vice versa. You know, there's that old saying, if your kids are okay, you're okay. You know, and it's the same thing. You just innately know when something is not okay. They could be at school, they could be across the world at a university, and you still know if they're not okay. They could be 50 years old and you still know they're not okay.
Yeah.
You just start feeling it because it's that spark, that consciousness that connects us to one another. So, you know, everything that's happening now is a byproduct of things that we're doing, you know, with UNN, with one another, the new team creations, the things that are going on, not only here internally, but also other things that I'm doing as well. You know, you have to have value for yourself if you expect the monetary system to value you. And now you have wings. And I'm not saying that's an ego thing and it's not meant to be you know, you're the kings or queens of the world, but you have to value other people too.
Yeah. It just feels like freedom is what it feels like. And that's what it was, because that was a bondage type system holding us back, a monetary system. So it just feels free. Like, oh my gosh, you don't have to worry about money anymore? What?
I know, because that's the lack system.
I know. Yeah.
You know, we don't have lack anymore. So it's going to be a matter of time. And I know people are going to watch this and say to me, yeah, well, you know, it's now 10 o'clock at night where I am, you know, and I'm not feeling any less lackful than I was. But you got to give a chance for the system to work. You've got to give us an opportunity to program everything in for this, because it doesn't look like we're going to get any help, outside help.
Yeah. But I'm not worried about that. Like, I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but that doesn't scare me. I know, I just feel this sense of freedom. Like, if you don't want to join the party, don't. Like, you know what I mean? Well, we'll find another way. It doesn't matter. Like, I hope other people feel that sense of freedom too, because this isn't scary. I don't feel like this is scary at all. I feel like this is an opportunity to just push through things that have been blocking us forever.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm also feeling a lot more free, you know, and the more these programs and other things go away, the more freer I feel. I don't feel, you know, and there's been a lot of times, you know, in my life where I can say, you know, I used to, and this is years ago, I used to worry about money, you know. I used to worry about paying my bills, making sure I was at work on time, worked overtime when I needed to, got a second job when I needed to, worked I don't know how many jobs through college and all of that because I was climbing up that hill. But, you know, once I've reestablished that relationship, you know, directly with the Creator, you know, years and years ago, I don't even have to. I just have to ask for the things that I need in my life. And it's never been like really about money. It's been about, you know, well, gee, my car is working wonderfully, thank you, you know, or, you know, if there's something wrong with my car, well, I really need an alternator. I really need this. I really need that. You know, and then it just shows up, whether I find one at at something I can afford at a junkyard. I mean, I'm going back years, you know, even now, different things, and the gifts and abilities to install it myself if I needed to. You know, that all comes from the wisdom. It's not like I pulled out a manual or watched a YouTube video. For the most part, it all comes from wisdom. You know, I'm having a difficult time. You know, I think I'm not going to be able to buy groceries this week or something like that. That's happened in the past. I don't even worry about it anymore because someone will show up at my door with a box of food and I'm just shocked. A family member, a friend, whatever it is. It just happens. Yeah. You know. And it's going to get even better in a way that people are going to understand when they start to see money flowing in the world in a different way. So for the others, participate, don't participate, you know. Yeah. Your call at this point. You know, I'm pretty sure we can police ourselves and all that kind of stuff, and all that can be developed just fine, you know, as a group. You know, we've got plenty of veterans and all that can teach and train and help us learn how to do that. We can be very, very self-sufficient. Sure. So.
You said that there were meetings going on today. Do you expect what kind of results do you expect after that? Are they just discussing or?
First meeting was with the Federal Reserve and the Tier 1 banks. Okay. There were, to use an acronym, there was FUBAR. If you know what FUBAR stands for, FUBAR, you can look it up. Going around amongst them, they understand there's no way to do it without the authority. Now, by authority, you know, I think they've now figured out that the authority is not the people they were reporting to. Yeah. So it is implied at the moment, based on what we're hearing from that call. You know, I'm only referred to as her. So I don't know if I'm the her or there's other hers they're referring to. But at this moment, they don't see any other way forward. They're watching everything that they ever had as a mechanism of control over banks, over people, over the financial system, just fall apart. Wow. How long they're going to be able to keep that under the rug, I don't know. The Treasury was also present in this meeting, so no real conclusions were made other than FUBAR. Now, as far as the other meeting they were supposed to have, it was supposed to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today, and that was with a few select governments, U.S., U.K., Russia, China, Australia, Germany, France, just a few select G20 countries were going to be involved to try to determine a way forward. Now, they postponed that meeting till noon. I knew that. Then they postponed the meeting until 1, and then I had to stop and do the news, so I have no idea if they actually had the meeting or not. My indications are showing not, that it was probably pushed off till 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. So we'll see if they actually get on this time. I'm guessing they're going to kick the can further because they don't have anything to tell these people at this point in time.
Yeah. What would you say at this point? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Hey, we are now the new secret society of the world has been called, it was called the Illuminati, the Order, the Khazarian Mafia, the Jesuit Order. Now it's just called FUBAR. You know?
Yeah.
A lot of angry operatives, a lot of angry people yesterday. It was crazy. Back chatter goes real high when so the way the key intelligence and military system works is you can start to see the formulation of anger and an uptick, you know, and those types of things, thought processes formulating. So you kind of see it like a boiling pot of water. First you see like the little bubbles around and you're like, oh, that's a lot of bubbles all of a sudden. And then before you know it, it starts popping all over the place and that kind of thing with a rapid boil. And that's what happened yesterday afternoon. It came to a rapid boil in seconds flat. So it's like going from putting something on simmer and waiting for it to boil rather than turning up the heat on high or throwing it in the microwave, because it just happened like in seconds, you know, minutes. To the point where I couldn't even figure out what anybody was angry about. There was just a lot of swearing going on, and I'm like, well, that's not a language. I need some more words. You know, I'm trying to figure out, you know, why everybody was so upset. And it had to do with the further breakdown of the slavery programs. So the major hubs in the world for that, I know were, there was a facility in China for that. And this was not human technology, let's put it that way. So there was one in China, one in Rwanda, one in Liberia. The largest hub in the world was in Brazil. We talked about the one in Paraguay, I think, on the last news. If not, Paraguay was another one. There was also another one in Argentina, one in Rhode Island, one in Georgia, the state of Georgia, meaning in the U.S., not Georgia the country. Sarajevo was another location. So, you know, we pulled all that apart yesterday, and this made them very upset.
I bet.
Well, I think they were under the impression, best I could tell, at least the SSP, that somehow they thought that this could be turned into the quantum financial system. They also were trying to connect this Paraguay location to the financial system. I mean, that's not what it was for, but so I'm kind of scratching my head over here. Then they went to the Treasury, and they had tried this all day, rest of the day throughout Monday, also in the morning on Tuesday. They also then went to SuperNap yesterday in Las Vegas, trying to connect that to a plasma pool. That's what it was. I mean, it's a few other things too, but it was a plasma pool, which was not designed in any way to connect to a computer. So I'm just still confused. You know, yeah. So anyway, they had gone to a few other locations trying to make these connections to these things that are not computer centers per se. Not financial things in any way, not connected to money really. Maybe collateral, yes, in the past, but not money. Which goes to lead me to one more thing that I wanted to leave you with before we go. And this has to do with ancient texts, old prophecies, current prophecies, books that may be for public and mass consumption, religious books and otherwise, and teachings on the internet. Because we sometimes look at things in life like they are a manual, and not so. Whether that's a religious text or somebody else's prophecy or something like this. Now, I caution you for a number of different reasons. Sunny, have you ever had a psychic reading or a tarot card reading or anything like that in your life?
Yeah.
And even though the person may be very talented and good at what they do, they can only look at the energy in the world as it is at that moment.
Right.
Now, if you're asking a question about yourself personally, as an example, that is only one person's decisions. You know, should I apply for a job at this place? Should I get a new car? I'm not saying that's what people would ask about, but in general. Right. Now, if you're asking about yourself in relation to another person, now you have not only your sovereign will, but you also have the sovereign will of the other person. You can't make anybody do something, whether it's a friend or a neighbor or a bank or or the Fed or whoever. You can't. It's not possible. So now I'll factor in the fact that we're talking about prophecies. So there have been a lot of people that have put prophecies out there for the future. You know, and known names are like Edgar Cayce, as an example. You can go back to Sumerian ancient texts, Vedic cosmology, the Kabbalah, the Bible, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But, some of these, Nostradamus, just to name a few, and there's a lot of people on the internet that do that too. Now, the further away you get from the second that you wrote that, and the more people that are involved in making that come true, the more difficult it is to predict if it is actually going to happen and when.
Right.
The same thing goes for ancient texts that the SSP is reading. They may have had treaties and agreements and mandates given to them, for example, by the Abraxas, and that they keep trying to carry out. Mm-hmm. But the Abraxas no longer exist, and a treaty is an agreement between two sovereign beings, is it not?
Yeah.
In our world, we see treaties as agreements between two nations, or a multilateral treaty being a treaty between multiple nations,
right.
Like the United Nations as an example, or NATO. So if the other party is no longer there doing their part in the quote-unquote treaty, you don't have a treaty. Therefore, you can read all the ancient texts given you by the Abraxas of what you think is going to happen on the full moon, the new moon next week, but there's nobody on the other end to do their part. I can invite you over to my house for dinner, but if I am not here among the living anymore and you show up, there's probably not going to be a dinner.
Right.
Now, what's worse is the further away you get from that point and the more people that are involved, the more factors that could come into play to not allow that event to happen. I've had people that have reached out about various people that have given prophecies or talked about things that are going to happen in the future. And then I said to them, well, okay, but that was 20 years ago. The world was a different place. We had different kinds of beings in existence that don't exist anymore. We had possibilities, or sometimes no possibilities of these things happening. No possibilities of things returning, whatever it is. And then I had someone that made a comment on one of our videos about Revelations is going to start. This was even on the special clock people, like I refer to, that's on the internet, on qofficial. whatever. And they said Revelations. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, the book of Revelations was written a long time ago by some potentially prophets that could potentially see into the future. But if God doesn't want Revelations, there's not going to be a Revelations.
Yeah.
That's still a human creation, And a warning, it could have been a warning. There's been plenty of times where, I'll wake up in the middle of the night or even early in the morning, or have a hard time going to sleep because my warning bells are going off about something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you sure you turned all the knobs off on the stove to look out for the two temples in China with the round river? And here's where it's located. Ended up being at Tiananmen Mountain is where it was. And that's where I found it. But anyway, it could be something like that. But if you prevent that event from happening, then it changes the outcome.
Sure.
So I'm a little bit confused. And I think people are sometimes confused why, there could have been someone that had the best of intentions putting out information 10 years ago or 20 years ago and expected that to be the case 10 years from now. And I'm not to say it will or will not happen, but it just doesn't mean that it's going to happen. And the same thing goes for the deep state. They could have gotten orders and instructions 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever from a group of aliens or otherwise. And if they're not here to do their part of the treaty, then it's all pointless. Yeah. You're blowing in the wind over there. The same thing with people wondering if we're all going to die and go be raptured. Well, maybe God changed his mind. Maybe you need to amend the book, you religious prophets out there. Whoops, Revelation has been canceled, and so has the apocalypse and Armageddon. Have a nice day. Maybe Source will put out some T-shirts or something for that. I don't know. Get the word out. But I think that's also part of all of your jobs too, is to help people because they're going to be fearful in times of change. They're not going to understand an ever-abundant flowing form of energy. Cellular regeneration without eventually at some point in our lives ever eating. We don't need to actually eat once our DNA is repaired. So we have a lot of good things to look forward to. It may look turbulent right now, but you have to trust and have faith. If you get up in the morning, you do the right thing under the new system. Remember, take what you need and leave the rest. Do the right thing. It wouldn't matter to you if the markets crashed and you lost a lot of money as long as you're not fearful in it. My retirement is safe. My retirement is secure. I have an ever-abundant flow of energy, and money. I don't have to be concerned because my account is going to fill back up one way or another. My kids are going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Everyone is going to be okay. And if you live and walk in faith and not fear, it will work out. I know it does because I've done it. I've had not a dime in my pocket to feed my child and food shows up at my front door. I've done it. It does work. You just got to get out of the lack mentality and remember that you are a co-creator of abundance in your life. You can co-create fear and manifest lack, or you can co-create abundance. And that is your personal choice, and no one else can make it for you. Not anymore. Yeah. So, and with that, I am going to leave you.
I love it. It's such an inspiring report, Kim. This is incredible.
Well, it's just the truth. I hope it does inspire some people. But, it also hopefully dispels a lot of fear. There's always a way forward. There are no such thing as problems, only solutions not yet found. Yeah. So with that, I guess I will see you on Friday.
Okay, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That wraps up today's news update. Please share UNN with your friends and family. We need everyone to come together and help restore our planet. When news happens in your area, record it and share it with us so we can help you share it with the world. Remember, if it's going to be, it's up to me. I'm Sunny Galt. Join us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the real news.